Welcome to the Entrepreneur Success Formula podcast, where we'll be getting down to earth with real entrepreneurs who work hard and know that success is more than a mindset, and it takes blood, guts, and a bucket full of luck to survive and thrive in the world of business today, especially today. My name is Demi Mark Smith, and I'm going to be your host for the show. I'm the author of the Entrepreneur Success Formula, How Thriving Business Owners Actually Do It. And in this episode, I am speaking with Clint Singh, who runs Clinical Photopro, which provides lighting solutions to the aesthetic industry. He works with clinics to create products which improve their photography. In fact, he is still a professional photographer and has spotted a gap in the market, which we are going to be discussing today. So, Clint, welcome to the show.
Hey, Damien. Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Well, my absolute pleasure. And obviously, we're still in lockdown as we speak. I don't know how much longer that's going to last for, but we'll probably address a little bit of that today. So let's go through the usual list of questions, which is, how did you get your first customer? Actually, do you want to just explain a little bit about what Clinical Photopro is and where you got the idea from, and then we'll talk about how you got your first customer.
Yeah, so really in the industry with aesthetics, a big part of what they do is to take before and after photos. And I found that clinics are really struggling with this because the first thing they do is pick up their mobile phones to get these photos, but they're not really getting the quality with this because there's a lot going on with these phones. They work in auto, so they change with the ambient light. They give you really poor results. So I came up with a solution where I've come up with a lighting system that will really override the phone's settings and give you consistent results, so they can still use all their patient management systems that they were using in the past and still just use their phone. So really quick and simple solution for that.
Okay, and so I mean, obviously, it's taken you a little while to develop this solution.
Yes.
How did you get your first customer? Because you've got a clinic that's using this now, haven't you?
Yes. So really, you've got to pull out all the stops when you're trying to get your first product out there. And I had been trying, but in vain, to get to my target market, which is really specific. So they are like plastic surgeons and aesthetic doctors. Really difficult to get hold of them because the traditional marketing tools were not really applicable, like Facebook. They're not necessarily on Facebook. So I tried coming up with some unique methods, like having a presentation on an iPad and getting it sent to them. Even that wasn't working because by the time it actually got to them, the batteries had run out, or so sometimes they were even getting lost with the couriers. So I had to come up with another plan. But during this time, I had to consider how to make how to do this properly. What could I do different? So I found networking really important and trying to offer services to clinics and try to help them as much as you can. So when you offer advice, and in doing so, you also build a mutual relationship. And if you're genuine with this, it will reward you. You're also getting really valuable feedback during this time. So one day, one of my friends that I'd been working with had called and said, you know what, she's at this conference and she's sitting next to this very well-known doctor in the industry, and if I wanted, she could introduce me. I said, yeah, no, please. And of course, that led to an introduction, and the product started to get into the market. And also very important during that time, it helped me evolve it a little more, and obviously to a sale.
Fantastic.
So, yeah.
And as we know, the rule of thumb with any entrepreneurial business is talk to users, build a better product. Talk to users, build a better product. What has been the biggest mental challenge that you've had to overcome as an entrepreneur? And this can obviously include, your photographic career as well.
Well, I think in particular with this is being able to be resilient, being able to cope with failures. A lot of the time, your ego gets dented, and you can't help but take this personally. So you've got to take advantage of these failures and move on, and not be abandoned that particular path that you are following. Sometimes it is a bit of a struggle because you've invested a lot of time and you sort of get emotionally attached to what you're doing. So you sometimes have to throw in the towel on that approach, reevaluate, and try again from a different angle. It's not supposed to be easy, otherwise everybody would be doing this. But looking back, a lot of the prototypes that I'd worked with, they've led to me coming up with what I have now. And if I had gone ahead with those models, it would not have been as good a product. So you have to take these failures and take advantage of them and move forward.
Every obstacle's an
Yeah,
opportunity. I love that.
yeah.
Okay, so if you had to start all over again from scratch, what would be the one thing that you would do differently?
I think trust in myself more and go with my intuition. You have to believe in yourself and believe in what you are doing, especially if it's a new idea and it may not be easily accepted. Your belief and your enthusiasm must show, because all you need to do is really get your foot in the door. And a big part of getting someone to be open to your product or your idea is how you carry yourself. If you're likable, I also won't be afraid to get the idea out there into the market quickly, because as quick as possible, because as soon as you start engaging with your audience, you will be able to get the product into the real world and get feedback. But I must say that that buzz that you get when you figure something out that nobody else did, that's really incredible, and it really pumps up your enthusiasm, your confidence, and it really drives you forward.
I love it. So, what's the one piece of advice you would give to a young entrepreneur, or even someone who's maybe been in a career and has decided that they want to start up their own business now, especially with the current coronavirus? There's a lot of people taking their businesses online or their ideas online. So, what's the one piece of advice you give to any entrepreneur starting out today in the current climate?
Well, there's a few things. Well, the main thing is you need to look at what other people are doing, be observant, be attentive, and think out of the box. You may think a certain area is saturated, but that's what development and evolution is about. The current climate is extremely limiting, but along with this, there are opportunities. It limits everybody. And if you think about it, in the next 100 years, there would have been somebody that came up with some amazing idea during this time. So why not let it be you? The answer may not be obvious, so just be observant. But you also got to be completely absorbed in whatever it is you're doing, whatever it is you're interested in, until you're saturated with this information. Then only will you start to see the opportunities that are there. But if you can't find a solution, um, I found that what is really important is, when you say take a break, in that creative process, the 4 stages of preparation, incubation, elimination, and verification, that incubation period is extremely important, and don't ignore that. Don't run with blinkers on, take a break. It will definitely come to you. And life skills are really important, and be hungry for these skills. If you feel you have an urge for a particular skill, nurture it. It will reward you. And don't forget, these skills are transferable. For example, if you were competitive in a sport, there's a competitive nature, your perseverance, overcoming pain, obstacles. These will be invaluable to you in the future. So don't be afraid to learn new skills.
Fantastic. And I always say, that the health of an entrepreneur is part of the business, because that's kind of like your secret sauce, really. If you're not
Yeah,
firing on all cylinders, then neither is your business. And I know you and I both, really like to take care of ourselves
yeah,
and, our mental well-being as well. By doing exercise obviously makes a big difference. And that taking that time out, sometimes is the
yeah,
key bit, isn't it? Um,
definitely.
Right. What was the best piece of advice given to you by someone else? And you can name them if you wish.
Yeah. What very interesting story. There's a gentleman called Rob Riemann. He's a writer and a founder of Nexus Institute, and um, he said, "Follow your passion." And what had happened, I'd actually been on holiday in India, in Mumbai, and it was the time of the Mumbai bombings, and we had gone to a hotel, and we were also in a state of lockdown. But during this time, we got to know the other guests, and got in touch with with Rob. Kept in touch with him, I should say. And when he came to London, got together for dinner one day, and I was telling him, I'm not too sure what I'm doing. I'm in photography, but and he said, you know what, just follow your passion. And I said, yeah, but what about the money? And he said, that's follow your passion first. Of course, you've got to be cautious with this because you've got to survive. But I did, and it was difficult to find an area in photography that was not saturated. But eventually, after spending time in the industry, I found a niche. And what I found didn't involve taking photographs, but solving a problem.
Mm.
But I'd gained this knowledge through my passion. So I was fortunate with that. Like I mentioned earlier, it's you got to be completely saturated with knowledge in this field that you want to be involved in. And I was fortunate, like I say, I got to gain this knowledge with something I was passionate about. But you really got to be different. You got to be unique. And it was that piece of advice. I always think about that.
I love that in the workshops that I do, I talk about finding your sweet spot is
Yeah.
is the cross point where your passion, your skills, and your purpose interact, where they cross
Yeah.
over. Where you're really good at something, you're really
Mhm.
passionate about it, and you find your purpose as well.
Yeah, yeah. Also to say, it does also take the pressure off you if you're passionate about something, and it doesn't feel like work, especially when you're burning the midnight oil with enthusiasm. It's definitely makes a difference.
Fantastic. So, if you were in charge of UK business, if you were the head of UK business in the government right now, what legislation would you introduce to help entrepreneurs and business owners?
Um, I think like a mentorship program and definitely some sort of financial help as an entrepreneur. You might not initially have a full set of business skills to arm yourself for the road ahead. So imagine a country without these individuals. They are the ones pushing evolution, industry, technology forward. So I think it's in everyone's best interest that these individuals are nurtured. You're bound to come across stumbling blocks that will slow you down or sometimes take you down the wrong route. In particular, things that I found were difficult for me, like getting advice on patents, design protection, copyrights, trademarks, things like that. And these are not uh, topics that we are familiar with, and a lot of the times you're going to find that you may not have needed to go down that particular route. It can be a very lengthy process. For example, patents, you may not be able to patent something and you're only going to find out about it a few months later, where you could have just run with the product and been an industry leader. So I think a mentorship program to guide somebody with someone that's not going to take advantage of you would really be important.
I like that. That's really good. Okay, what are your plans for the future, and how do you plan on growing your business?
So I think I was quite fortunate with being able to launch this product to the industry in the UK. It's been very beneficial to get feedback from the market. We have a very high concentration of clinics in the south of England, and this let me evolve the product really quickly. The next step would be I'd want to expand to different countries, but also get involved with a manufacturer that can manufacture and fulfill orders, so I can concentrate on really marketing the product, like going to exhibitions, etc.
Okay, because you've done a talk for the Aesthetics Journal at one of their shows.
Aesthetics medicine. It was yeah.
Okay,
So
how was that doing the talk
uh,
at the show?
that was incredible because, like I mentioned earlier, I found it really difficult to get to my target markets, and here I found my target markets coming to me, and they were really interested. You're getting firsthand feedback from them, all of which really positive and opened lots of doors to sales and opportunities. I also got a chance to speak to this audience on my topic, how it helps the industry. So that was really an incredible experience, and again another step forward with where I want to be, because being able to represent yourself is really important.
Mm. And you're doing a live webcast for them as well?
Doing a webinar in a few weeks' time on this topic on achieving bulletproof before and afters. So looking forward to that.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, final question is, what's your favorite business book and why?
It's called Company of One by Paul Jarvis. I'm not sure if you've read that one.
No, no,
Um,
I'll get it though.
so, so I really love his philosophy on entrepreneurship. He guides you through a realistic process, an approach to starting up, and he talks of the importance of small-scale business enterprise and the balance to provide a sustainable income and a healthy life-work balance. Otherwise, where does it end? I've already it's been incredibly rewarding to come up with a solution knowing that it's going to have a positive impact on the industry, and to combine that with a healthy life work balance is really important for me, and I think that would be ideal. I don't want to end up chasing something that's unsustainable. So I really connect with what he says, and it's great to get validation on the path that I want to follow. It's important, I think, to start small. My product may be still evolving, and you can adapt and change really quickly. So I've already adapted a lot and happen to be doing a lot with what the author says. That's avoiding unnecessary overheads. I've avoided working with the manufacturer where you have to outlay an investment for minimum orders, and I've been manufacturing the product myself. So as the need increases, I can adapt and evaluate. Of course, this means learning new skills in the manufacturing process, but I'm game for that.
Fantastic. That's great. And if listeners want to get hold of you, want to get in touch with you, can you just give us a link to your website? I'll be putting this in the show notes as well.
Yeah, it's clinicalphotopro.co.uk, and also on Instagram at Clinical Photopro.
Fantastic. And your product, your latest product, what do you want to just give that a plug as well?
Yeah, so these lighthouse that I've developed, they basically override any mobile device. So if a clinic was using their mobile phones or tablets, they override your phone settings to give you consistent results, but also leaves you open to using any one of your patient management systems that you are using. So it will work in conjunction with that and complement what you're doing.
Fantastic. We can see those on your website because they do look really rather nice, don't they?
Yeah, they really proud of what of the way they eventually finished off, and also look really good in somebody's clinic. Yeah. Aesthetically pleasing.
Aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Clint, thank you so much for taking this brief delve into the real life of real entrepreneurs. And if anyone is listening to the podcast, please get in touch and please share the podcast with anyone who you think works hard as an entrepreneur. And like us on iTunes and YouTube. We're going to be available on both now. And also make sure you hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like to take part in the show at some later date, please send me an email at damien@rethinkingbusiness.biz, and we can set up a conversation and see how we can discuss entrepreneurship with you. Thank you, Clint, for taking the time out today.
Thank you again, Damien.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Clint. Bye.
Bye.